Here we are. Welcome, warrior. A couple of minutes, perhaps a minute or two late, but I was just reading something that was just sent to me that took my breath away for just a second. I'll share that with you in a little bit. But I want to welcome everyone, and also thank you for being here. I don't like to do things on a Sunday, frankly, but with my schedule and different warriors events and meetings we have this week, it's an impossibility to do anything. It's that crowded. It's that busy. Not complaining, just saying a lot is going on. So let's sit back. Let's talk about a couple of things. I want to share with you what I was just reading, which made me a minute and a half or thereabouts late, because I just received that for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, they are now employing an AI chatbot called Ruth. Now, Ruth, AI chatbot, it's a machine, it's not real. In other words, the domestic violence hotline. Usually you get a person picks up the phone, right? Now you're getting an AI, artificial intelligence chatbot. Ruth is trauma informed. She's designed, can you believe this? It's a machine, it's not real. Designed to help people navigate abuse, trafficking, and other crises. Ruth supports over 85 languages, prioritizes safety and crisis context recognition, is anonymous to use, and doesn't collect your information. Designed to connect people to human support and is currently integrated with the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Now, until right now, I never heard about this. This is something brand new. Already conducting over 60,000 conversations, and the company putting it out, Parasol Cooperative, believes in transparency, ongoing testing, and ethical oversight. I don't know about you, but I just see a lot of risks here with AI. Actually, we do have to have a check in before we start everything. Once I start talking, I don't stop. So give me a 5 by 5. You can hear me. I see William is saying good evening, class. Rick says two. I'm not sure what that means. What does two mean? Okay, can everybody hear me? I want to hear loud and clear. Okay. Oh, good evening. Okay. This is very disturbing. I have to do a little research on this AI chatbot, which we are totally against. As a follower of the Warriors, which I know you are if you're here, chatbots are machines. Thank you, William, 5 by 5. Rick, too, 5 by 5. Chatbots, you have to tell your kids constantly they are not real. They are not real. They are machines. They can't feel like a human being. So now we have them. Again, I have to do some research and dig into this to share with you, but we're having them answer somebody who's in crisis. Two is second like. Okay, now I get it. The lingo. Just fooling. Now we have a machine when somebody is in this moment of crisis who is brave enough to even recognize that, thank you, Frank, loud and clear, they are in this crisis moment. They're talking to a machine. Now, that machine, I got to research this before I talk anymore. And directing them to a human, that is just a middle step to get to a human. We are erasing humanity and humans out of anything where we need them. Okay, so first we had the National Human Trafficking Hotline was replaced by a company that is a call center. Okay, this just happened in the last few months. Now we have the Domestic Violence Hotline being answered by machines. Now the writing's on the wall. None of this should be shocking to anybody. But when we have something like this, domestic violence, human trafficking, and these people have a second, and again, they're brave enough to call into a hotline seeking local help or some sort of help or attention or direction. And now we've got that middle person, whether it's the call center or this Ruth. I'll get back to you on this, but I'm not liking this at all. I only see risks. AI can be hacked. AI can be given information from one ideology, one viewpoint. Not liking it at all. We have to talk about Epstein. I want to know, this is the case that I maintain with you. We will never get to the bottom of. We'll never really understand what this was really all about, because despite the constant talk about the Epstein Transparency File Act in Washington, with all of the noise, which rightfully so, we should be talking about it nonstop. We should be raising awareness. We should never let all these people get away with all of this. It was more than a sex trafficking or an exploitation type of thing. There was all sorts of video, recordings, blackmailing, in my opinion. And what I want to ask, though, and I've asked a lot, is why aren't more people in jail or held accountable, or we're hearing about? We hear about Ghislaine, or Gillen, as they call her in Europe. They call her Gillen. Here in America, we say Ghislaine, but Ghislaine Maxwell. There is a woman named Leslie Groff. Now, we heard the name a little bit a couple of years ago, but now we're hearing it a little bit more. I'm digging around. Now, Leslie Groff lives in New Canaan, Connecticut. Very wealthy community, beautiful home. Leslie Groff, for years, was the right hand, the assistant to Jeffrey Epstein. The files that were just released show over 150,000 emails where she was arranging travel and communication for, at the time, Prince Andrew, Bill Gates, all of these people. Why isn't she held more responsible? I don't want to hear she's given immunity or something against, Jeffrey, who's no longer seemingly around, or Ghislaine. This thing stinks. Again, we have to, I guess, keep talking about this and keep reminding those that are complicit. And there are so many. Again, we have not heard too much about that Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, where we are learning at the Warriors so many different, and have heard, but hearing is not proof, right? Hearsay. So many things that happened in New Mexico on that ranch, on that property, with the airstrip, with different young women and minors, eugenics, baby farms, all of this stuff that remains. We're going to hear more about that. But this thing is touching it's like with tentacles touching all over. What was considered conspiracy, crazy talk, I don't know, I want to say even a year ago, is now acceptable, because I'm seeing it float around online, different words. Again, we're a family show, and there are those algorithms, those pesky algorithms. So I do watch some of the words I use here, but I think you know where I'm going with this. So let's keep an eye on this, and let's all leverage our platforms for keeping the discussion at the front, because I'll tell you why. Again, this is about not only victims or survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. This very intricate trafficking is also about all cases of exploitation. All victims are looking at this, and rightfully so. They say, why should I come forward? Or why should I report somebody? Or I just want to forget about it, because they're not taken seriously. They're not at the forefront. Nobody else is held accountable. How about the men and perhaps women who buy or who are part of this, I'm going to call them a cartel. Those are my words, nobody else's. This kind of criminal enterprise, again, my words, nobody else's. It goes with trafficking. It's usually the trafficked person is arrested and put in jail, including minors, right, on any given night. And this is all crimes, not just trafficking, prostitution. On any given night in America, we have 2,000 minors in American jails. 2,000 minors. A minor should never be mixed in with adults. Now, you might say, what is the reason for this? Because I've heard everything from, this is the only place we have to put them, or they're 16, leaning towards adulthood, they should be mixed in. Unacceptable. If the law states, excuse me, 18 and under is a minor, right? 17, 16, 15, you're a minor in the eyes of the law. Why are 2,000 American kids in adult jails? So the justice system is very wrong. They will usually put this prostituted person. Remember, a child can't agree to be a prostitute, right? They're a prostitute. They can't even be a prostitute. You can't even pin that on a kid, right? Why are they put into jails? How about the person buying from them or abusing them or exploiting them, and that person who is their pimp or their trafficker? Now, also law enforcement will say, well, we've been trained to, put them in a jail or hold them, because then we lean on them to get to the bigger fish, the trafficker. That's kind of backwards thinking, in my opinion. 2026. We know better than that. There is a lot of technology today I don't understand, because we work with a lot of great ethical tech people. There is technology that can stop trafficking, that can root out the predators, that could do all kinds of great things. Yet we're not seeing it really implemented. And I do ask these questions, behind the scenes to these people, these ethical tech people, and they will all say the same thing to me. We don't know why. Now, when we're hearing that answer over and over again, I think it's fair to say people don't want to get involved. There's a lot of money being made. People don't want to rock the boat. People are just afraid to go against what's happening, which is all the more reason I want all of you to be warriors in your own home, in your community. Stay in your lane, taking that small step to protect around you, because the big picture, it's overwhelming. And my biggest fear I always talk about is if it's so dark and ugly and overwhelming, you will close the door, you will close your eyes, you will look at nothing. But if you stay within your own home, community, family, and friends, and we each do something, and that can snowball, across America. This is a global problem, all of this. It's all connected. However, we at the Warriors focus on America, right here, what's going on. This is what we need to be talking about. Our kids here, the trafficking, the exploitation, big tech allowed right now in 2026 to take advantage of them, education system, jobs for kids, mental health for kids. It's funny because in Washington, a couple of people have said to me, you have to pick one thing and you have to stay in that lane and be really good at it. And I agree with that. But how can you with all of this going on? I like to say it's a big wheel with a lot of spokes, and all these spokes are making it all go around equals exploitation. So we've got to keep an eye on this Epstein story. Never let it go away, because it is trickling down to overall power over our most vulnerable. And how dare these people? They have so much money. They could do anything they want, right? And they pick on kids, or they abuse kids. Now, we have to remember, I also ask myself constantly, and I ask my husband, where are all these kids coming from? Where are the adults, the parents, the guardians looking out for them? Do they not notice if their 13-year-old daughter is coming home with Louis Vuitton and Chanel and bags of makeup from Sephora or something like that? So there's also that problem of, I'm not judging. Maybe I'm judging a little bit, but I don't care. We have to take more of a vested interest in our youth, in our kids, no matter how hard, how tired you are, how overwhelmed, because this is just, as I'm sitting here telling you, several kids have just been abused or trafficked. So we in America better start really talking about this. We know it's bad. We know it's escalating. Where are the resources? Where are the solutions? Because we know we have a lot of good people working on a lot of good programs, a lot of good law enforcement. We could intervene. We could prevent a lot of this. To be honest, because that's what we are at the Warriors, will we ever really stop this? No. You know, and I know we never will. It is too big. It makes too much money, right? At last count, globally, and I don't even know how they came up with this count, it was something like 247 billion. Well, you can bet maybe that's double the amount, right? We always say, 50 million people are trafficked. How do we know? It's in the dark. Maybe it's 100 million. Maybe it's 200 million. What do we really know? Do we really ever talk about familial trafficking? We have more family members exploiting their family members than we do have strangers abducting kids and trafficking them. So why in America aren't we talking about this familial trafficking, which nobody wants to talk about? I know here in New York State, where I live, I live in New York City. Maybe you don't, but I live in New York City, New York State. We have the percentage of those children trafficked that we know about is over 64% from a family member. It's not a stranger, a family member. So let's talk about that. Stacy says, yes, judge away and use code words. We all know them. Well, you all know, because you're smart here, that you know what I'm talking about. I am tired, and I've said this in Washington. I've said it in my capital, Albany. I say it to other coalition members who are involved with many great people across the United States, all doing their job, right, to educate, raise this awareness, intervene, get into the schools, work with law enforcement, work with the justice system. How much more do we have to do? Today, on a Sunday, when I believe this is a day we should really all, it even actually has nothing to do with religion. Like, I really try on a Sunday. Look, we work around the clock at the Warriors, but I try not to be online. I try not to be reading excessively. right? Because you could spend 24 hours a day. I get press releases. People send me things about this nonstop. I try to pull away from it. But like I said at the beginning of this, I have no choice. I wanted to talk to you directly and join in and have some community. That is our hashtag, community creates change. And if I make one of you here aware, that is good enough. I've done my job. I have no other time this week with travel and things happening to really sit down and talk. But until we really, and this has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans, it is everybody, right? This horror, okay, doesn't belong to any political party. These are our precious kids, our families, and we're not talking about it at all. I was just out with an acquaintance of mine, and this person was shocked at some of the things I was revealing and kept saying, "You mean in America here?" And I'm like, "Yes." She was saying, "Other places?" I'm like, "No, here." She was horrified. And we should all be horrified. Government works for us. We do not like to, I get a lot of pushback. People say, for instance, we at the Warriors support the Kids Online Safety Act. Now, I know anytime I post about it, big tech, somebody unleashes bots, these machines on me, these little pretend people that have a cartoon face or no face and have, 0 followers, and they're attacking me. And they say the most horrific things to me, what they're going to do to me, and they lie what the Kids Online Safety Act is. That's the line in the sand. We don't want to bring government into anything. But when we can't get anywhere, and we let big tech for 30 years now, since 1996, run unregulated, and we see the exploitation of children and families, and nothing's being done about it, and they work for us, and we pay taxes, Democrats and Republicans, they better start addressing this. And everybody better get something straight right now about the Kids Online Safety Act, okay? Because these are the two big lies, the PR propaganda from perhaps big tech and others going around. The Kids Online Safety Act does not impede anybody for doing any kind of research online. They don't lock you out. They don't say you can't look. There's no censorship. You can look for anything you want. What big tech can't do is feed the kids and all of us the dangerous algorithms. We have studies after studies. We have internal memos. We have whistleblowers from these big tech companies that say they're feeding the kids, especially these algorithms. Your child, and I always tell you this, can be looking simply up the word Apple. And by perhaps the third click, they're in a porn site that they never even looked for that has Apple in the title. And once seen, you cannot unsee. So these kids aren't even looking for things. And they're being shoved down their throats, shoved on their screens. Big tech should be held responsible. And why are they, for 30 years, allowed to run unregulated? Like I say, go crazy over the seatbelts, bicycle helmets, all that stuff. But big tech, we just put it in our kids' laps and there's no regulation. There's no anything. Why should they make billions and trillions of dollars? I am a broken record here, and I admit it, off the backs of our children and families. They shouldn't, because we even have Mark Zuckerberg, we have Bill Gates, we have them on record saying we would never, our kids never went on any platforms. We didn't allow it. But it's good enough for everybody else's kids. So everybody needs to wake up in their own home, their community, for themselves and realize what's going on here. Now, the good news is with all of this, I'm telling you, right now, we will begin week 3 tomorrow in LA Superior Court. There is a big tech trial going on where in California, we are treating these cases of children harmed by big tech platforms. Right now, we have Meta in the courtroom. We had Adam Mosseri. I don't know if most of you know who he is. He runs Instagram. So Meta's Instagram and Facebook. He testified last week that, and we have the internal memos. We have it. They don't call anything internet addiction. They call it problematic use. And we have these memos and whistleblowers from Instagram that have come forward, Meta. They knew harms to kids, but they changed the wording. We know that, for instance, from all the studies, we have some really great studies now. Anything we say in the Warriors, we can back up with studies about internet addiction. It is true. It is real. And we know that changing it to problematic use as opposed to internet addiction, is just ridiculous. The good news is we have a lot of strong parents out there in LA, even the other night, because Meta, word on the street is that they've been hiring people, a lot of people, to stand in line and clog up who can get in the courtroom to keep all the parents we have out there from our great groups, from Parents Rise, Parents Safe Online Spaces, parents we at the Warriors work with, whose children have been harmed, the ultimate harm. I think you know what I'm talking about: sextortion, cyberbullying, eating disorders, all kinds of things, suicide, right? I'm going to say it. They are bravely marching peacefully, showing up at court. They don't want other parents and family members or kids to go through any of this. So again, word on the street is that Meta was paying people to clog up the line, stand in the lines. These parents slept outside the other night, all night long, to be at the front of the line. And it was raining. And they're all huddled together in their little rain ponchos so they could get into the courtroom, and they made it. They outsmarted for this one night all these big tech people. And they had to sit there because a few of them wrote to me and said, this Adam Mosseri running Instagram now, he's sitting right in front of me. I feel ill. I feel sick. My daughter suffered. My son suffered. And this person, there are internal memos and things. And they're saying it's problematic use. And they're also always blaming the parents. And they're blaming the environment. Or they're blaming just the mental health of a child. We know what they do. The history of big tech is always flipping it on parents. Now, yes, to a certain extent, but we're waking up and we're teaching and educating. But because big tech is allowed to run amok, that we do have to take action. We do have to put our own safeguards on there. We do have to talk to the kids. So it is spreading. That is the good news. What is this delicious? Stacy Sullivan, super sticker. Thank you so much, Lori Lewis. Gwen, I'm not even looking at the comments. I should be. Thank you, Lori. Gwen says also, let me do this the right way because I don't think I'm doing it. Let me scroll down here and bear with me, everybody. There's Lori. Thank you so much. All of our donations, all of our support goes into our education programs, right? Goes into after school programs, goes into talking about at that age appropriate level, wherever we are, all of this. But it also, we've extended into talking to parents because we need the parents to understand what big tech is doing, right? I'm jumping all over the place, but that's what I do. But thank you, Lori, so much from the bottom of my heart. What I want to say to you, I got to go back to this Kids Online Safety Act for a second because there are two things that are propaganda. One is you can search for anything, which I mentioned, but the PR machine will say, oh, we're not letting kids search, and that's censorship. And there's no censorship. We're just not allowing big tech to feed the kids the dangerous algorithms that are causing all these problems. I mean, anybody could go for that. That's number one. I do plenty of Zoom meetings with members of Congress, their staff. We do it all. They all think, because they read a headline, if you go to, you look up Kids Online Safety Act, you Google it or whatever, this is what you're going to find at the top of the list, the harms it caused and all that, because it's PR propaganda. That's what I'm telling you. I work on it. I would not promote something that would not be safe and good for our kids and for you and for families. So number one, we don't want the algorithms fed to our kids. We don't want them being able to buy drugs with two clicks. We don't want them being fed things they're not even looking for that will harm them mentally, or again, they see something once seen, can't unsee. And the other thing, the constant, this is probably a bigger pushback. Well, our LGBTQIA plus community, a lot of these kids have nowhere to ask questions or go, or they're in fear. So they need to be able to search for things. I'm here to tell you, again, you can search for anything you want to search for. Okay, you're just not going to be fed the dangerous algorithms. So you got to know there's a lot of lying going on. So the history of big tech is they lie. Sorry, we love tech. We live in a digital world. We're not giving it back. There's so many great things. We're talking to each other now. I don't know where everybody's from. You could be from across the world. It puts us together in community. right? But we do want guardrails for our kids. So again, we're starting tomorrow, week 3 of the trial in LA. The parents will be there again. And this week we have, not sure of which day it will be yet. I don't think it's been announced. Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, Facebook and Instagram, and it's also WhatsApp as well, will be testifying. But I'm sure it'll be the same story as Adam Mosseri, who works as the head of Instagram. It's sorry, I get worked up about this. It's problematic use. It's the environment the child or teen lives in. It's the parents' fault, because that's the playbook that we've heard for years now. We've got Lori getting the party started. Yes, get the party started, everybody. I mean, Lori kicked it off. Come on now. I'm talking about education for our kids. I'm talking about, we have travel. We have supporting survivors, right? We do a lot behind the scenes for survivors of all forms of exploitation. Those are not things that you put pictures online of, or you talk about, or you pat yourself on the back. A true warrior does that in silence, right? That's what we do. We help them where they cannot get help, right? Whether that's money for food, bringing food, toys for their kids, books for their kids. We do a lot of that. So, Lori, that also helps us with all of that. And that is a bottomless pit, only getting bigger. And a lot of the survivors, they could be women surviving, the sex trafficking, labor trafficking, domestic violence. Remember, it's all interconnected. I just thought of something a friend told me. She was in a meeting in Washington the other day. Again, bear with me because I do jump around. And she had to leave the room. And this is a fact. But most people who have been sex trafficked have been abused as a child. And the most recent study shows 97% abused as a child in the home or in foster care. That's a whole nother program. And these youth homes, 97%. That is unacceptable for America, everybody. These are the issues we need to talk about. I am sorry. I am sorry about Nancy Guthrie. I pray they find her. She's okay, this 84-year-old beautiful woman. But wall-to-wall coverage, constantly, going into week 3 now. This is not taking away from Nancy Guthrie, but because her daughter is Savannah Guthrie, and it's low-hanging fruit, do you know in Arizona how many kids we have missing? Forget people missing. Kids. Why didn't they put up billboards for them? But they put up billboards in 5 states for Nancy Guthrie. Why? We demand, we urge. Nobody's talking about these kids at all. We know so many kids are missing. We can't get follow-up. We can't get anything. All those kids that came over the border. Yeah, I heard something Tom Homan said today. The sound was down early this morning, so something about 1,023 maybe was the number. Children rescued. I don't like that word rescued. I don't like saved. But 1,000, when I've been told upwards of 1 million unaccompanied minors came over the border under Biden administration. I also don't like when we ask, well, where are these kids now? Are they with vetted families or sponsors? They can't be put in those foster care homes because I'm sorry. I have heard repeatedly with our work with the Warriors, most of those places re-traumatize children and teens, re-traffic them. I have heard nightmares. So that whole system has to be retooled, right? Anyway, all I'm going to say is there's a lot going on. So we want to follow this trial. Week 3, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm sure, I know the playbook already, that he will be blaming the parents, they do have safety features. All these devices do have safety features. For instance, the iPhone has 31 steps to put on a guardrail. And I know they make it so difficult and so impossible. And you can take your time. You can YouTube any kind of directions, tutorials to see how to do all this. But usually parents by step 10 or 11 get very frustrated because it's very confusing. And they just say to the kids, be safe. And they don't do it. And it's designed. And again, we have internal memos. We have this designed on purpose to make it difficult for parents to put on the safety features. So any other business would be regulated. This is criminal. At least it sounds criminal to me. The next thing is, so we have that. We'll keep an eye on all of that because I'm sure media will want to cover Mark Zuckerberg, I guess, right? I did a great Warrior Wednesday on WABC Radio with my beloved, my husband, Lionel. That show is every night, 1 to 5 a.m. We do a usual hit every Wednesday, Warrior Wednesday, about boys and gambling in the United States. Now, this is something nobody's talking about. But right before the Super Bowl, great colleagues of ours, Common Sense Media, commonsensemedia.org is the website, put out a study they did that boys 11 to 17, 1 in 3 have gambled in the last year. And you can find that at Lynn's Warriors. Go to our X, go to our Facebook, go to our website, lynswarriors.org to find the study. And where are the boys learning this? Well, first of all, they're learning it with the video games because those video games have built in the reward system. They're teaching kids how to gamble. They've got the skins and the cash things, and you buy the virtual this, the virtual that. So they're getting those young minds set for gambling, setting them up for adult addiction, lifelong addiction. Can you imagine that addiction? To me, that's one of the worst addictions, gambling. Like, how do you can drink. I mean, get your fill, I guess, and be drunk. You can take drugs, get your fill. I'm not promoting any of this. But gambling to me seems like this bottomless pit. But the fact that video games, gaming, mostly done by boys, and setting them up from young ages, this risk reward type adrenaline, those young brains that aren't developed yet, horrific. And we also know, because a lot of the ads on the video games are coming from different online gambling sites, right? And there's about 3 of them. I'll just leave it. I'll let you do a little research and find out what they are, okay? They will just, a 12-year-old will be doing his game, and all of a sudden the gambling site will pop up. And there's very little to sign on to these. And the boys are doing it. So this is a nightmare that nobody's really talking about. And so parents will think, well, their son is, in the family room at the kitchen table, and he's on his device and he's quiet. He's safe. That goes for all of this. If the child's in the house, the teen's in the house, they're safe. The predators are all online. The predators are where the children are. So be aware that this is now going on. I mean, you can buy drugs online with 2 clicks. You can gamble online. We're talking about minors. Where's the accountability? Where's some sort of age verification? We have to figure out how to do that, or we have to just say, like, you will be held company responsible if we find out kids are on. Forget age verification even. Like, we have to make some kind of hard line, like, about all of this. Because I've heard everything from there's software with your fingerprint, your eyeball, your this. I'm like, what? Put your parents' their government ID. No, we don't need any of that. We need nobody under 18. We need to make a law like we did with drinking or something like that, like a law, or else you're fine. Not all this other stuff with age verification, IDs from parents, and what? We don't want any of that, and nor do you. Edie says, Lynn, you're so right. It is criminal. I don't think even government people want to shut it down because big tech, however unethical. Listen, the bottom line is, I don't even like saying it because people ask me on a daily basis, why is this all allowed? Why is it happening? All of this exploitation generates money, big bucks, the biggest bucks, okay? The kind of money, I don't care what kind of study we have, we don't even know, like, the half of it. And so nobody is shutting down this runaway train generating. And it's even been said, they consider kids, I'll just leave it they for now, never any names, kids are collateral damage. So, if we lose kids in the process, so be it. We lose a few kids. Can you imagine this attitude? So we've got this is a groundbreaking trial. It is slated for 6 to 8 weeks. Tomorrow starts week 3. We will see where this goes, but this could change the social media platforms as we know them, right? If they are held accountable as a product liability. They went into developing these platforms. They knew these platforms would harm children. Why did Snap, who was part of the lawsuit, right before, and TikTok, right before it went to trial, they settled with one 19-year-old who brought this forward in California. She was a minor at the time, 15. Now she's 19. She brought this lawsuit. She started it. But here's my fear, and I've brought it up before, that I believe the focus right now is, yes, kids will be collateral damage. Facebook, Instagram, in the past, remember like MySpace? It was like so big, I'm dating myself, and then it like went away. Maybe these platforms will just slip away because what big tech is looking at, right? Big tech is all the companies, Facebook and X and all of them, right? What they're looking at is AI, artificial intelligence. So they don't care about any of this. And if they have to pay out a couple of $1 billion, so be it. Because their focus, I know it was just announced that Mark Zuckerberg put, I think it was $600 billion, so some huge amount of money into AI. He's on record saying AI is the future, AI is here, and that's what they're all saying. And you know it, and I know it. Everything's AI all of a sudden, right? It's been the last year. You can't go anywhere. It's not AI. AI this, AI that. You're trying to put an X or a tweet, as I still call it. There's something on my Twitter X that says like, do you want me to write it for you? It's like all over. Every Zoom meeting has an AI companion. I just told you we started the segment here with the domestic hotline where you need a human. Is something called Ruth, an AI chatbot? When we're fighting so hard and saying, parents, beware of these chatbots, tell your kids they're machines. They don't have feelings. They can't give you empathy. They can't give you encouragement. They're fake. How about maybe they do that for a little bit? You got to tell the kids all this. You got to tell yourselves this, because adults are falling. We talk about the kids. Adults are falling for this too. I'm even getting, has anybody been getting these, I started getting these weird ads for this little like teacup poodle. Has anybody seen that? It looks like a real little dog. And it's cute. And some man is saying, maybe he's like 50 years old. Well, I thought this was, I'm paraphrasing here, everybody. I thought this was weird, but I got it from my mother with dementia or something like that. And now she loves it. It keeps her company, the little dog. There's a whole big ad. I've got to get the name of the company next time I see this ad. So that's an algorithm feeding me. Interesting. I get on my things a lot of ads for AI, right? So we got to talk about it. AI is here to stay, artificial intelligence. How are we going to work in our world and be safe? Not, especially the kids. AI chatbots are not our friends. They are not real. Let me see what Edie says. Yeah, Turtle Bean says it's super creepy. It is, but here's what I say about it. It's here. Like, we're not stopping it. We can't complain about it. We can talk about it, raise awareness, but then we have to have some take actions or know how we are going to operate in this AI world, and especially keeping our kids as safe as we can, or open and honestly talking to them, because that's like the number one rule with the Warriors, because they are our future adults and our leaders. And if we don't help them as kids, and so much is thrown at them, we're in real trouble. We know we're in real trouble already, but we've got to get this pendulum. It's slightly swinging back, ever so slightly. It's going. We have a lot of kids 30 and under that are very angry. They've been used as, in their words, not mine, guinea pigs with the whole big tech internet, and they are rallying up groups. We've got groups like Heat Initiative, all kinds that they're educating other kids. So what better, a young person educating another young person is what resonates, right? Kind of thing. So we've got to get the information out there and what we're going to do in our own environment about all of this. Edie says, in my own personal experience as a mother of autistic children and vulnerable children, agencies are used to cowing people. When people weren't expecting pushback, I gave the freight train. Well, that's just it. People will say, why bother? I can't change anything. My voice doesn't matter. You have to understand, power in numbers is true. When I put out a call action for, contact your representative, you go to house.gov, senate.gov. If you don't know who, represent you, but their websites are right there. It always has a contact form to fill out as a constituent, email address, phone number. All of that matters because when they get in their offices, it's now 4 to 7 about a specific bill or a topic, a subject. They will address it. We have to let them keep knowing, thank you, Edie, that we are pushing back. We're not accepting any of this. That goes the same for getting into the schools. The school boards across the country are very powerful, right? School boards. Think about this. People don't think this way. The education system right now is sort of this money-making money-making operation. Go back and look at my interview I did with Chris Papps from the Baltimore. He wrote this great book, Failure Factory, about the education system. Everything, 8 years he researched this in Baltimore, in Maryland. But it applies to our entire country. Go back on the Warriors and look at that interview. And by the way, sometimes we have a little hiccups and we might have a little echo, or we might have a little phone ring, or we might have a dog bark in the background. Accept it, everybody. Come on now. That's the way it goes, right? So don't complain. Just join in, get the information, on to the next. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. I forgot to say that. I should say that in the beginning. That helps us build numbers. That helps us get onto that super highway of YouTube, right? That helps us get this information out there more. Edie said a state representative office once told me we don't talk about that. They can say what they want. We keep talking about it. On to the next. It's like one doesn't accept, we don't fight back. On to the next. We keep talking about it. We leverage our platforms online for good information, right? Just keep going. On to the next. That's always been my mentality. It's like on to the next. Okay, the other thing I want to finish up with is something that's been bothering me. There is something called adultification of kids. Now, this adultification, yeah, Rick says hit the like. Thank you, Rick. I should say that too. Hit the like. It's free, and it helps us as well, okay, with numbers. Adultification, we are noticing in the last few years, they'll refer to a teenage girl as a young woman. There's no such thing. She's a teenager. She's a child. She's still a minor. This adultification, they're using phrasing in the media, in programming. It's called adultification, making kids, blurring that line. And this is very important. Please go back and look at our Lynn's Warriors Facebook page. I put a statement. I put it also on Instagram. I put it on X. What this really means, the harm it's causing. Remember, these are children. I don't care if they're 17. They're still in the eyes of the law, children. And their brains are not fully developed. Brains are not even fully developed at age 24, 25. Let's face it. But we are blurring that line in society, children and adults. And you know the harms that are coming from that. We see things being played out now. As a matter of fact, somebody else today said to me, and from another country, what is this in America? It has become so, and the person said, what is the word I'm searching for? Normal here. This, sexualization of children. What is going on? And I said, I know. I don't have answers, which is something I don't like to say to everybody. The only answer I have, as crass as it is money, 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 and lots of it being made. So I want to finish up with, as we go into the new week, first of all, thank you for joining. Please share some information. Share this video. Look at some of the interviews we've done, especially some of the parents. It's right there for you. Just listen to what they have to say. Use some of the information. Number one thing, talk to, if you have kids or grandkids, you got to talk to them. It's not them and us. It's, we're a partnership. This is the world we live in now. This is our country. We cannot let people like Mark Zuckerberg, Anna Mosseri, Bill Gates, all these big tech people rule the roost, laugh at us behind our backs, but really steal our children's childhoods. I mean, they're stealing them. We know we have a youth mental health crisis. We have so many things going against kids and families, but if we stick together, we keep talking about it, there's a lot of hope out there. The fact that we have a group of parents right now out in LA sleeping on the pavement in the rain to get into that courtroom so they can stare at these big tech people, willing to do that, willing to keep talking about it, willing to share their pain, is beyond brave. I mean, they're the true warriors, and all of you are warriors for joining me. So your homework this week is to be aware of what's going on, to don't contribute to any of this. Be very careful what you post. Make sure, we like to post, facts, not fears. It's very easy to slip into certain words and language because somebody has an account with 2 million followers. So automatically people think, oh, they have 2 million followers. They must really know what they're talking about. Be very careful because it does a big disservice to trafficking, exploitation, missing kids. If we don't put out, our hearts aren't in it, passion, and we don't, we have to put out the correct information, not just for clicks and likes. I think you all know what I mean by that. Thank you, Edie. Please check out Lynn's interviews, amazing and informative. Yeah, they're all about just trying to give you some information, trying to wake you up to what's going on because it is overwhelming, the environment we live in. A lot's going on. We're all trying to do the best we can do. There's no judging here, but you're not getting a lot of information. And that's what we do at the Warriors. We give you the information. So thank you for saying that, Cecilia. Your being here and your supporting us, you're giving me words of encouragement, you sharing videos on your platforms. This is what keeps me empowered because I also get on a daily basis pretty much, Lynn, how can you do this work? Because what I'm telling and sharing with you is the tip of the iceberg. We do so much behind the scenes, which is real boots on the ground, real tough stuff. Somehow, some way, I refuse to accept that this is going on in America. I will fight to the end for kids and families. And I will fight for those who are vulnerable and have no voice. We cannot allow this, right? So join me. Be part of the Warriors. Thank you for joining me today. Let's all be positive. Let's all say we can make a difference. Intervene, protect, share information. Honor our hashtag Community Creates Change. Lori Lewis, thank you for supporting us and believing in us. It's very humbling. Thank you very much. And remember, we're going to start a new week tomorrow. Sometimes people say Sunday is the beginning of the week. What I say to you is we've got to wake up each and every day and go out and be a warrior. We'll talk again soon. Thank you, everybody.